Checking one more time. Okay. Console price. Nintendo current. And let's give it 6 labels. Nintendo current. Nintendo next. And we'll give it 6 labels. Then Nintendo next. And for me, at least only one more row to go, thank God. Monthly subscription price, Nintendo current. I'm going to go with 5 labels there. Nintendo current. And Nintendo next. So now we're all ready to be secretaries. We finished typing. Crazy words per minute. All right. Now, boy, did I actually get this in alignment? Because that'd be pretty amazing. We'll find out. We got to finish labeling things. So this is the Wii U, and this is the Nintendo Switch. Let's see what that page looks like. As we move this. So you can tell when I make mistakes, because when I move this slider, that box moves, so time to go fix errors. Quality assurance testing. Okay. Oh, we don't have a good increment here at all. Because we can get crazy numbers. Okay, console price. And subscription. Wow, I only made one mistake. That's pretty good. So let's go back to our market spending, and let's get rid of that crazy increment. Let's set that increment up at 100,000. Now let's do it at $10,000. $10,000 increments, I think is all right for that. Yeah, that's pretty good. 1.29 million. That's a good number. 224. All right, so we have inputs, we have outputs. We're missing one thing from our simulation, actions, which is the button. Okay, so we'll have this advanced time, 1 time unit. The label will be submit decisions. And then after it's done advancing time, by hitting the green plus, we can give multiple actions, navigate to page, market data, and now I think we can test our sim. So we submit some decisions, and we get some results. Except we don't want to run this sim month by month. That's kind of annoying. We want to run this sim quarter by quarter, which is 3 months. Cool. All right, so we're missing something from this sim. Right now, people don't know what time it is, besides except for where the graphs are at. So let's go fix that. You'll see that I did a little bit of wacky, crazy math to figure out what the current year is and what the current quarter is. Yes?
You also need a switch to launch a new product.
Thank you. See? This is why I have lists of things I have to do, because if I didn't write it down, I'd never do it. So let me explain this. Do you care about this formula? Okay, so then I won't explain it. Alrighty, so let's go put the switch in. That's way more important. To use the switch widget, we literally use the switch widget, which is this thing that looks like on and off switch. We choose the variable, and it's something like player ship next gen product. Let's give it a title. Ship it. Ship the switch. And on the left, you know what, I'm going to kill the label from here, and I'm just going to use the same thing that we have done over here. That doesn't look very good over there. Doesn't look good over there either. Look any better? No. We failed in our design phase. We didn't do a good job taking into account where this switch is supposed to go. I think it's also awkward because it's a Switch and the product is called the Nintendo Switch. I think that's also what's...
You can start a complete full state, new page, and just have that switch in the middle.
No. We'll go with the least bad solution, which was this.
If you put it in between Wii U and Nintendo Switch, you somehow indicate in which direction you're looking at the decisions.
So you're saying...
Between the labels on the top.
Yeah, nice.
You do not even need chip, well, you need it to communicate it, but it would be nice to...
Like that?
Yeah.
With that?
Yeah, so now it's on Wii U, and if you switch it to the right, it's not very well communicated, but it's...
Oh, I see what you're saying. I think I'm going to go back to what I had. Extra credit for somebody who thinks of a good solution to this problem, but I'm sticking with that. I mean, yeah, I'm sticking with that. I don't like it, but whatever. It's 235.
Wouldn't it be better to call it release switch, like Nintendo
Yeah.
Switch or something, if it's about communication?
I I don't like the word switch here. It's awful. It's
We should send them an email.
yeah. Rename your product so that we can make a phony game about you much more engaging.
Just write new product release.
Hmm?
We can just write new product release.
Yeah.
But everywhere we called it the switch.
Yeah, I know. Which is why we need to use the word switch, and I just need to get over it. But I'm not very good at getting over it.
Then in brackets at the end.
Alright. I'm getting over it. Okay. See, this is me. I'm over it. Okay. So we're going to ship the switch. We have it on. We have all of our decisions. We've got a product page. There's probably some alignment to do on here. We could probably use a dividing line here as well. But that's going to make this look even more awkward being on the wrong side of the page. So I'm just going to leave it. All right. So now let's set up a couple of fun conditions. So right now we're missing still any introductory material. We're missing any debriefing material. And we're missing firing people. Like if you lose money and hand over fist for 3 years, maybe you should be canned. So let's add some firing to this game. And the point of this is I want to show you a really cool technique that you can use to build what look like modal dialogues. So at this point, I'm going to save this. I'm going to go on into a copy of this. So I'm going to call this end of day 2 at this point. Okay, and what I want to do with this now is when people get fired, we're going to fire them with this in the background. So what we're going to do is we're going to put a message box on top of this page so it looks like we put up a modal dialogue. So if you remember when we put a poster up before, let's just do a simple poster. Let's add an event. Let's say a cumulative profit for, oh crap, you can't do it like that. So simulation events are a bit annoying on arrayed variables because they trigger for any element within the array. It's a pain. You can't actually stick it. You can't stick the simulation event on a particular array index. So you can't say trigger the event, to fire somebody when cumulative profit for Nintendo dips below a certain number. It will only get fired if any of the variables in that array pass through the threshold. So when we do posters on arrayed variables and we care about which index we are triggering on, unfortunately we have to make new variables in our model that represent just, for instance, Nintendo's. Cumulative profit. So we need to slice our array up. So we say cumulative business profit of Nintendo. We give it units. So I don't know if you've seen this trick before. In this units editor, you can both check units to confirm that they're correct in this case and suggest them automatically based on the things that you use in the inputs. Makes it a lot easier than typing them in. Alright, so we need to set up an event on this variable. What's nice about simulation events is you can set them up in 3 places and it's all the same thing. So I can set up a simulation event by clicking on the variable, going to events, and saying add event. I can do it on the model layer by going to simulation events, add event, and then it asks me which variable I want to do it for. You can also do it up on the interface, add event, and it asks me what variable I want to put the event on. It's all the same thing. It's just 3 ways to get to the same functionality. So I want to set this event to trigger when Nintendo's profit crosses the threshold of negative 10, 100,000, 10,000, 100,000, million, let's say if you lose more than $5 million now, because we're going to be investing a lot in our product. So let's say if you lose more than $100 million, $10 million, $10 million. If you lose more than $10 million, you're fired. There's no helping you. So the event is when the variable drops below the threshold. So remember, events get triggered as variables move. So imagine a number line. And as Nintendo's profit comes down the number line and passes the threshold that we set of negative 10 million, it will trigger this event. So if we started with a profit of negative 10 million and 1, we would never trip this event. If we started with a profit of negative 10 million and 1 and kept going south, it would never fire because we never crossed through that point on the number line. If we started at 10 million and 1, but somehow got to, we made some money and we crossed going the other way, we went from negative 10 million and 1 to negative 9,999,999, it still wouldn't trip because you're crossing the threshold going the wrong direction. It's only when you cross the threshold going down that this will trip, because we're saying when the variable drops below the threshold to trigger the event. So we want to add an action. This action is executed when the run is started by somebody pressing a button in the interface, because we use these events for different things. On the model layer, we use events, at least I use them, to tell people when they've exited the bounds of what's reasonably possible in my model. As kind of extreme conditions warnings. But on the interface, we use them to do cool things like fire people. So here we are. Let's steal a line from Donald Trump. You're fired. I already did my voting, so, and I didn't go in that direction. Don't worry. Okay, so here we are. Run was started via an interface control. We're going to put the message up, you're fired. We could have put up an image, we could have put up a video, really rub it in. And we can then also go to a page when this happens. So let's set the event up for now, but we're going to need to bring them to a page, because if we leave them in the simulation like this, they can just continue, and we don't want that. The other thing is, when this action is triggered, the simulation is ended. I'd say yes. When you're fired, you're not going to be playing the game anymore. So, okay. So now what we need to do is we need to add a page for when you get fired. But let's first take a look at this. How can I make us lose incredible amounts of money? I'm going to jack everything up to the max, and hopefully we'll lose $10 million before. No, there we go. Alrighty, so we're fired. So yeah, you can use what's called an event to do this and to make this modal dialog box. And in this case, this modal dialog box actually doesn't look so bad in this sim. But in some cases, you'll want to customize what this looks like. And rather than customizing what this looks like by trying to edit this, which you can't, because this is something we just provide as a piece of infrastructure, what you can actually do is simulate this box by using a page navigation. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this market data page, and we're going to edit, select all. You've already saved what you've done, so that when we screw this up, it's okay. We're going to cut it. We're going to come down to templates. We're going to add a new template. This template is going to extend template 1. So templates can have templates. So you get to be able to do some really, really neat stuff with this. And we're going to edit, paste, and we're going to call this template, that's just a bug that screenshot updated. We're going to call this template, not template 2, market data template. We're going to go back to our interface, and on this market data page, we're not going to use template 1, but market data template. So now all of our market data is back on this page. And we're going to add a new page. We're just going to use the market data template. And on this page, we're going to put a text box. And we're going to give it a border that is solid. Now, let's say we want a nice, thick, red. Let's go even thicker than that. 5. Okay, and then we're going to take the background color. And I know I'm flying here. We'll take that background color here. And we're going to come here and we're going to put in the rich text editor, fired. We're going to center it. We're going to make it white. Check. White on here is a problem. We now have the case of the invisible text. Okay. That's really annoying that this text is now invisible. We're going to do one more thing here. We're going to cut this. I'm going to hold this on the clipboard. So the reason for that is most modal dialogues, what they do is they put a gray background on top of all of this so you can't interact with it. So we're going to do that. I'm going to use a text box to do this. This isn't necessarily the best way to do it, but it will work. So I'm going to take this text box and I'm going to put it 0, 0, 800 by 600. I'm going to make it have a background color of light gray. Black. I wonder if that would be control over transparency. Yeah, no. Okay, I have to do it with an image. Google to the rescue. That looks pretty good. Done. Modal background. Okay. So let's try that again. Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to bring to front. No. That wasn't a transparent image. Whatever. You get the point of what I'm trying to do. You put a transparent image over this thing with light gray so you can only partially see through, and then you put the dialogue on top. That way people can't interact with the stuff that's in the background. So let me just go put our original message box back. It's in here somewhere. There it is. Okay. So see, Undo Redo really does work. So now in our poster, what we can do is edit this event and edit this action and go to interface page, page 2. And let's get rid of that text that we put in the poster because we don't need it anymore. So when you set up a simulation event with no text, no image, no video, and a page on it, it will not put up a message box or anything. It'll just bring you to the page automatically. So let's go back to our interface. Let's go back to our decisions. So something that's going to be important here is actually changing the order of these actions. Because if you think about it, simulating is going to trigger us getting fired, which is going to bring us to the You're Fired page, which is then going to navigate us to market data. So we need to do them in the other order. We need to go to market data, then simulate. So that when we get fired, we do another navigation. So when I submit this, come on, I want to get fired. All right, let's go lower the threshold on that then. Store all devices. Let's just give our stuff away. That should guarantee that we lose money, right?